It's no secret that the women in Hamlet, Gertrude and Ophelia, were naive to their own well-being and only cared for themselves. In Hamlet, the women often found themselves in difficult situations that only led to grief for all. In the end, Gertrude often found herself in positions where she could easily prevent its casualties, but just left them to die. Then, if we look at both of them, I could and will argue that they played a key part in Hamlet's transition from acting crazy in Act 2 to actually being a lunatic in Act 3. The female roles were very selfish in the way they act, and this led to many interesting results. Let's get started with the first question. Was Gertrude in any way, shape, or form responsible for any of the deaths that occurred in Hamlet? I say yes. She's responsible for a couple of the deaths that occurred in the writing. In Act 3, Scene 4, Hamlet is seen yelling at Gertrude. Gertrude, rightfully so, is scared for her life, that Hamlet might kill her. So she cries out, "Help ho!" Polonius, behind the curtain, yells for help to come, but Hamlet thinks it's a rat and stabs him through the curtain. He is slain. If Gertrude had stayed quiet, I firmly believe that Polonius would have never died due to Gertrude's actions. This showed that in the spur of the moment, without time to think, without any time to think, she only cared for herself, and this revealed her true character, that she is very selfish in her actions. Next, I think she knew of her husband's murder, but chose to ignore it. Hot take. Maybe King Claudius was extremely hot and desirable, unlike King Hamlet Sr., so Gertrude got to live the same lifestyle, but with a way hotter dude. But we will never know. In Act 1, Hamlet is grieving his fairly recent father's death, while rightfully so, while Claudius and Gertrude are celebrating their recent marriage and grieving their Hamlet Sr.'s death. Cast thy knighted colors off, is what Hamlet is told by Gertrude. If she hadn't said this and tried to grieve with Hamlet instead and resolve the issue, instead of scolding him, I firmly believe that there would have been no story and Hamlet would have been a normal guy. But instead, Claudius and Gertrude scold Hamlet into to try to get Claudius to be his new father role. This was the start of Hamlet getting mad at his mother because she thought she was in the right. She was selfish in her actions. Instead of sitting down and grieving their loved one's death, she scolded him. The next absurd take, when you first hear it, but in reality isn't that absurd of a take at all. Ophelia was partly responsible for Hamlet's craziness. For example, in Act 3, Scene 1, Ophelia is running to Polonius to tell him of Hamlet. Coming before me. He was unpresentable, and Hamlet is mad for love with her. Polonius later agrees with the idea that Hamlet is mad for love with Ophelia. If Ophelia wasn't a part of this, she would be insignificant to the story, and Hamlet might have just killed Claudius instead of doing all these other events. They would have never reported this news to Claudius and Gertrude, which led to other events. Now, yes, Ophelia is a main character, but I believe she's more of a support character, supporting the other main characters, such as Gertrude, Claudius, and Hamlet, and later Laertes in a way. But Ophelia is weird. She's interesting. She is a role character in the fact that, yes, she does have her star points where she is the star character, such as Act 4, Scene 5, where she sings of death to Claudius and Gertrude. But that would have never happened if Polonius was killed and murdered by Hamlet in previous act. Polonius' recent death she relied so heavily on Polonius, as that was her father. And the next male figure that she relied on was Hamlet, who was a lunatic at the time. To conclude, female characters only did harm in the end. Their selfishness led to their demise of all the characters in the end. Gertrude would put herself in situations that led to the murder of Polonius. And then we also see that they both played a crucial part in Hamlet's demise to turn crazy in Act 3 and lead to the grief for all in the end. The selfishness of the characters led to situations that were easily preventable, but instead they did what they perceived as best for themselves in the spur of the moment, revealing their true characters. Thank you.